Welcome to Investible Partnerships, where we talk to industry leaders about growing revenue-generating partnerships. I'm your host, Des Russell, and co-founder of Partner Elevate. And the daily battle for partner success is forcing channel leaders to rethink how to maximize their relevance and value so they can be a driver of partner impact. So let's jump in and find out how. Hey, LG, so good to have you here on the Investible Partnerships podcast. I really appreciate your time. I know we've had a conversation before this, and I'm super excited to be able to share a whole bunch of your experiences in your life as a partnership leader and what you've been doing more recently at Okta, but an unbelievable partnership professional. I'd love to start with you. Why don't you jump in and give our audience a little bit of an understanding around your role, what you're focused on, and a little bit about your background.
Thanks, Des, and thanks for having me. It's great to be here. I've been at Okta for over 2 years, and I look after cloud partners in APJ. And so typically shaping their go-to-market plans and strategy to set joint goals and make sure that we can help our customers safely use technology and, of course, powered by identity in this case. I've been in the partner space for over a decade, and I've been fortunate enough to have worked for vendors, consulting partners, and service providers across a variety of customer-facing roles. And I started my career as an engineer in the services space, then pre-sales, and then moved into partner development.
Okay, brilliant. And what would you say is one of the sort of lessons that you've learned being a partnership professional and now leading partnerships in APJ at Okta? What's one of the lessons that you kind of felt over the last kind of your more formative years as you were moving from both inside and outside of partnerships, working for vendors, working for consultancies? What is the one thing that kind of drew you towards partnerships from a career point of view?
If you look back at my career as a services professional, as a pre-sales professional, I was already in partnerships. So you could almost say that over the 20 years that I've been in this industry, I've been working with partners in any way, shape, or form. But it wasn't until 2011 where I formally got my first partner role, and there was a need that took us there. So I had an opportunity to join what you would define as a startup American vendor in the Australia-New Zealand space, in the Australian-New Zealand market. And obviously, as a representative of a brand in such a broad market, we realized very quickly how important was to partner to grow our business, and how important was for us to show to the potential partners that, hey, there's business here for us to be done and for us to win together.
Okay. And, there's a lot of people that watch and listen to this podcast in this APAC and APJ region. And there's a lot of partnership professionals that are probably in the same boat that you found yourself in 2011, right? Which is North American company coming to this particular region. Hey, LG, we really want you to run this for us. And what was that experience like? Were you really running the playbook from the North American market, or were you building your own playbook locally?
So we start with reusing anything that is existing, right? So they had a playbook in North America that suited that particular market, that had a specific message, a specific set of, let's call them KPIs or performance metrics, right? And what we did is we started there, but we quickly realized that anything that you do with partners have to be localized. And let's not just talk about ANZ, let's talk about APJ and the differences in cultures and languages, in approaches to businesses, right? And so for me, the number one key to a partnership is communication. And I'll probably call it over communication, right? If you think you're communicating, it's not enough. Let's go the extra mile and, if possible, speak the local language.
Okay, so I mean that's a great thread I want to double click on because you no doubt started your role, and yeah, we're going back to 2011, so hopefully you can remember. There were probably some KPIs that were landed on top of you in terms of revenue, in terms of reach, partner reach, and this partner podcast is really all about what we call being an investable partner, and this is really about being able to maximize your relevance and your value in how you interact and how you build partnerships and how you grow partnerships as well. So maybe it wasn't quite then that you kind of built an idea of what an investable partnership actually looks like. But take your experience. Is there is there a framework that you use, or is there something that you align to in terms of building and understanding the partnerships that you're working with today? You got a new partnership in Okta, and now you're trying to build this into the Okta partner program. Do you have a framework, or do you have some guidance for our audience around how you determine which partnership is investable or not? And importantly, do you know when to kind of say that, no, this isn't going to be aligned with where we're heading and I need to move away?
Oh, most definitely. Lots of learnings since 2011, but it all starts with the same principle, in my view. Once you're very clear as a vendor where you want to grow, which markets you'd like to tackle, and then, of course, what are your key goals, right? We typically measure in revenue. We are all in sales positions, right? The opportunity to sell indirectly through partners to help customers. Once that's very clear, then you can start looking at which partners are better aligned to this story. Because once you've got that partnership, then it's about investing. It's about going all in. But to me, how do we choose those partners? It starts with values. Is there a value alignment here? Is there a customer first approach to both business ways, right? And so
Yeah.
an example of this is, hey, we do care about our customers. Not only back in 2011, I've been fortunate enough to work for organizations that define that customer success as their key criteria. And looking for partners that have the same principle. Hey, our customers come first, and we want to make sure that it's not just about the sale. It's not just about hitting a number or selling new features. It's about positioning business outcomes and solutions. So that's number one. And I think that's the hardest bit. And once you get that well, then the next level of requirements, if you will, for a successful partnership, like the partner expertise, are there specific industries that they tackle? What are their superpowers? How do we as a vendor inject value into that superpower mantra? So if a partner has, say, for example, they work in the health industry, and some of their superpowers
Yeah.
is they're allowing customers to serve their clients better in critical spaces. Then it's all about making sure that we're reliable, that we're scalable, that there's a backup plan for the solution that we provide. Then do we have those metrics that we can align? So understanding the partner business before you make any decisions is critical.
I love it. How do you do that? How do you understand you're a partner professional, you're meeting with a new partner tomorrow? What does it feel like? What does it look like? What do you do to understand their business more clearly so you can articulate how investable they are around this value piece that you talk about?
So that's a good question. It's never an easy task to go and meet a new partner and create a new relationship and ask these tough questions about, hey, tell me a little bit about your business. So you really have to be quite intentional about the set of questions that you're prepared to ask, and even go to the point that, hey, are you the right person to converse these particular details? Is there anybody else that I should be meeting? I really want to get to know your business, because the last thing we want here is to
Yeah.
waste anybody's time, particularly that of the partner. Remember, I've worked for consulting partners before. They've got multiple vendors to manage. I want to make sure that I'm adding value on day one.
From day one. Yeah, absolutely. And what's your thought on how good are partners at articulating their value back to you in terms of their value proposition, their core customer? If we had to give it a 1 to 10, and one would be most partners don't really articulate it well enough. 10 being they absolutely nail it, and maybe 5 being in the middle. Where would you say most of your partner conversations land in terms of them being able to identify that for you?
Look, I've been lucky enough to have partners that are absolutely rock stars, right? And again, it goes back to, are you talking to the right person in the
Yeah.
partner, right? Perhaps for the definition of this partnership, the agreement of this partnership, and the evaluation whether or not this is an investable partnership. Perhaps it goes back to, am I talking to the right person that can help me define those specifics? And if you're lucky enough to hit that person, you're going to get the answers that you're looking for, and that typically goes to the head of sales, perhaps the CFO of the organization, the founder or the CEO of the organization. The further up you can go, the better that you get a view. And in my opinion, also talk to the rest of the business. Talk to their engineering
Yeah.
and services business, their success business. Talk to their delivery business and understand what's going on, right?
Absolutely. So let's turn our attention to your role at Okta. There's been some phenomenal growth with Okta over the last couple of years. Your partner program's growing tremendously. You probably have a extremely tight partnership with the what we call the hyperscalers,
That's right.
the big three, call it that. We've got some people in the APJ region who really see the hyperscalers as a key lever when it comes to scaling their particular product or their particular offerings. Um, how do you deal with hyperscalers when you are probably a small speckle of dust to start off with in terms of the opportunity that they can see with you? How do you kind of build and grow that to be something that is mutually beneficial, that is something that is investable on both sides? Any advice that you can give for how you have done this quite successfully with Okta?
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess the top three hyperscalers being obviously AWS, Google, and Microsoft, they're a lot larger than Okta to start with. And so again, it goes back to understanding the partner, right? Their size, their markets, their motivators, their drivers. And then from there, it's all about A, aligning to our goals, but also B, making sure that we're injecting value to the story and their goals. And so I typically call this, I'm always translating. And not only I speak different languages, but I speak the partner language. And I love to be that ambassador inside Okta in this case, or inside the company that I'm working for, to speak and translate the partner language. And so one of the things that we're doing really well with hyperscalers is we're leveraging their size. We're leveraging their size to evangelize messages that help customers make better decisions. And one of the things that we're doing really, really well with hyperscalers is leveraging the power of many. And so it's not just a hyperscaler, it's our technology alliances, it's our consulting partners, mutual consulting partners, and then creating solution offerings as opposed to product offering. And that resonates really, really well.
Yeah, because I think from an Okta point of view, being a product that solves a particular problem or particular set of problems in between layers of security that are already there, or layers of capability that are already there from the hyperscalers, you're kind of taking this and stretching this out and looking at the hyperscalers as as maybe the cornerstone. But the reality is they've got 10 to hundreds of thousands of partners that sit around that ecosystem that serve that particular customer. And it's something that we talk about in the industry, that the customer is dealing with 7 different partners or different partners when it comes to implementing a single piece of technology. So you've been able to expand that from the hyperscaler point of view to those partners. And I love the fact that you talk about solution, because as soon as you step to customer, you talk a different language. And I love this partner language piece that you're talking about. So the solution partners, the solutions that you put together with them, how important is it to kind of take that lens for the customer on outcome in your partnership, away from that technology capability that you maybe address in terms of a gap in the hyperscaler?
There's a term that I love used by hyperscalers, and it's called the superpower. Whether it's the partner superpower, the customer superpower, what is it that they do so well? The ability to simplify the superpower in a sentence, in a paragraph, or in a page at the most. It's critical to send this message and land this message accordingly and translate this message to a business outcome. So when it comes to how important is to for us to have a mutual goal that ultimately benefits the customer, regardless of the number of players. You know, you've got GSIs, you've got cloud providers, you've got technology alliances, you've got consulting partners and delivery partners. That power of many have to be
Mm.
working in sync, have to be
Yeah,
dancing to the same tune. And so the moment that we simplify our message and our superpower and how we work well with the power of X, it
yeah,
helps so many people go, I get it. And even customers come to us at events and say, I didn't know that you guys work with XYZ. And
yeah.
we're going, absolutely. That's a mission that we've got here. We do something really, really well, but we want to make sure that it's consumed by our customers in a manner that solves multiple areas of their business.
I love that because you need something, you need a superpower. Like if we take, let's take anyone with a superpower. Let's say Guardians of the Galaxy as a format
Yeah,
here.
I
Yeah,
love the
they've
Marvel
Thor's
reference.
got a whole bunch of stuff. He's strong, but he's got the hammer.
Yeah,
And the reality is that you might have a lot of superpowers, but the reality is there's one thing that is unique that you want to use to open up the opportunity to then be afforded the time to talk about everything else that is great that you do. And, investable partners, we talk about this as having a specialized niche. And the
yes.
specialized niche isn't about niching down to only support a particular customer or particular segment only. It's actually about answering this question. And this question is, how comfortable are you for a customer to put you in a box, which is
Interesting. Yeah.
a really challenging question for people that come through our investable partner program, because they go, I'm not comfortable being put in a box because that means I can't do anything else. And
Mm,
that's the myth. The myth. What we want to be able to do from a partnership point of view, the superpower, is you want to be super clear on what that is. That gives you the opportunity to talk about all the great things you do. Most of the time, I don't know if you see this, but most of the time, what I see is I kind of see the fire hose, and everyone's trying to shove the fire hose into either the customer or the vendor or the partner's face, going, this is everything we do. Here you go. And
mm.
it's really an uncomfortable position to be in. So, what do you think about that question? Being, how comfortable are you being in a box that you're unique to a customer?
And I think I'll expand on that. Can we package? Can we put together a box that helps that particular customer in that particular moment? Because that again, it goes back to being comfortable by not just throwing everything we do, but
Yeah,
just literally talking about how we can solve that particular problem. And,
yeah,
and we can solve it. Typically, we can solve it with a subset of our products as opposed to the whole lot. And
yeah,
then typically we can solve that by leveraging our partners ecosystem, whether it's our professional services partners, our system integration partners, and of course our cloud partners as well. That to me has been the key to success. I call it the more the merry. And to my sellers, everywhere I go, I try to tell them, don't be afraid of strategically leveraging multiple partners in a particular opportunity because there's a space for many.
yeah, absolutely. So, how does it work at Okta? Is that a culture of the customer center, their outcome or the problem they were trying to solve? And it's not about having one partner that, I don't like the one throat to choke, because that is just it makes no sense in a lot of times. It only makes sense when things are not going well and you want to go, well, whose problem that is. But I think that's a fixed mindset. If we think about this more from an open mindset, does Okta view it like that? Do you view that the more the merrier, where everyone has a unique value a proposition that they can bring to the customer, or is that more an experience kind of an experience thing rather than a culture of how Okta operate?
It's definitely different across different markets, and again, it goes
Okay.
back to the typical the conversation we were having before about the countries, the cultures, the languages. But overall, it's a very partner friendly community at Okta. I see multiple partners repetitively in opportunities across different segments and different customer levels. I think there's a strong understanding that there's a specific superpowers, and we've done a good job as well as translated internally, right? The extended partner team worldwide focuses on enablement, and enablement being when people ask me, what do you do? One, I'm a translator. Number two, I'm actually an enabler. That's my second role. And so we're constantly showing and showcasing the customer and the partner superpower, leveraging customer success stories, right? And that helps our sellers go, I can use this. I've got a
Yeah.
customer that's stuck in this position. I can help them. And so, yeah, it's very partner friendly.
When things aren't going well in the
Yeah.
partnership, no doubt impacting the customer or no doubt impacting your overall strategy, how would one approach that with a partner? Because I think a lot of the time we probably spend a bit too much time trying to fix things and trying to push through. We've invested a lot of time, we've invested a lot of energy and resource. We've just got to get this done. How would you approach actually stepping away? I mean, you're an experienced leader. We've got a lot of individual contributors in this APAC region, a lot of partnership professionals who might want to be able to step away from a partnership today because it's not giving them the results. How do you think about that? And what advice would you have for our listeners to be able to kind of think about what they should do to approach a situation like that?
That is a very good point, and it happens. It happens more often than not. So let's divide it into two approaches. One approach is you've validated that there is an investable partnership potential here, and you've both decided let's get into a partnership and make this happen. And the tough conversation needs to happen for any reason. Something went wrong with the customer. Number one is I always say run towards the storm. Do not be afraid of having a tough conversation. That's what partnerships are for. And so let's make sure that we have an excellent channel that we can all open and say, hey, here's what went wrong. Make sure that you can not only say, pinpoint at the things that went wrong, but add value, right? Here's what I propose
Yeah.
on how to solve it. Now, the other part of the equation is, hey, partnerships that are not working, how do we have those conversations? How do we go there? I find this happens a lot when you inherit a group of partners and you join an organization that have a group of partners, and you can evaluate, hey, the partners that are performing really well versus those that are not performing well. And typically after diving deep, it all comes down to a mismatch. There is a mismatch in
Yeah.
alignment in goals. And again, it's about having the tough conversation. Hey, Mr. Partner, we don't want to say goodbye, but how about we set some new goals and we create an
Maybe
expectation
realign.
and a realignment. Exactly right. And if in 3 months or 6 months this is not working, then we might as well call it. And most partners will be agreeable to something that you can measure and you can really read an outcome and go, it didn't work. And
Yeah.
so by default, then the relationship, it's better over. It wasn't working anyways.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's kind of like that relationship that you you kind of have put a bit of a band-aid on a few times. Look, the
Yeah.
reality is that sometimes you can't step away from something just because it's not about you. You can't make that particular call. But I think if we think about trust, and earlier on in our conversation, you spoke all about communication. I
Mm.
think communication and trust are hand in hand. And the reality is, if you can just realign and set those expectations, I think that can probably get through quite a few problems that are on the table. I think from a sales environment, we call it cleaning the plate.
Yeah.
You got to clean the plate. Let's clean the plate, and then let's going. Just on that, we often look at our partnerships. We're going to yearly planning. either your calendar year or fiscal year, depending on which region you're in. You go into partner planning, you set goals, you set alignment, you set expectations. What's a good cadence to review that? Is it every 6 months? Is it every month? Is it every quarter? What would you say you should be doing so we don't get into this particular point where communication's broken and there's trust that's probably eroded?
So, cadence wise, in terms of reviewing goals, it goes back to your business, right? I mean, how do you measure your business? Are you measuring on a weekly or on a monthly, on a quarterly basis? And again, is there alignment on the other side? How do you, Mr. Partner, Mrs. Partner, measure your business, right? And so, and it's all about, hey, if we are both happy to have a monthly, a weekly, or bi-weekly cadence to measure the success of these goals, then let's do it. Let's set them realistic. I'll give you an example. If we're talking about a public sector partnership, I don't think there's be much point in reviewing on a weekly basis, right? These deals take a year to come to fruition, right? And so
Yeah.
perhaps you want to set goals and milestones for a quarterly standpoint. But if you're in the emerging small business startup space, perhaps you want that cadence to be a bit more frequent. And so it's about making sure that we've got alignment to the different segments. And then again, the goals, to me, their goals need to be measurable. There is no point in setting big goals that we all dream about if you can't measure, if you can't consume them in small bites.
Yeah. Like, let's think about that, because I often have that with those discussions with our customers, and that is this: there are two different speeds that partnerships run on. There's a vendor speed and a partner speed. Let's call it the partner speed. So the vendor speed is very much calendar year or fiscal year orientated goals, strategy, KPIs, and we pair that back to quarter, and then we typically have a half, an H1 or H2, and we realign, we set. In partner world, it don't all operate like that. Some don't have an operating rhythm like that. Some partners just don't have the capability in their business to be able to do that. So how do you align where you kind of see these two different speeds that partners are operating on? You know, they probably thinking just this quarter, you thinking 1 year ahead. They thinking in 3 years' time, I want to be here. And you're going, well, we need your business to be here in this quarter. How do you have that conversation? What do you do when you see these different speeds operating? Do you think it's even, is that something you see even?
Every day. I mean, you and I can try to set a new record in 100-meter sprints, right? But we have to be realistic, right? I'm probably not going to be anywhere near the Olympians on my day one. And so, whilst the expectation is to win the gold medal, the reality is I need to start training somewhere. And so it's the
Yeah.
same here. And, I love that you added, the speed of a partner, the speed of a vendor. I love to add to that the speed of the hyperscalers. Because, when
Okay.
our partners say to us, hey, here's what business realistically looks like to me, we go, we can triple that. And when we say we can triple that, the hyperscaler goes, we can multiply that times 10. And it's a scary thought to be in, right? To go, I don't have the resources to drive at that speed.
Yeah.
And so to me, again, it goes back to alignment, realistic expectations. Let's have the conversation. And one thing that I haven't mentioned in this conversation is the power of no. Not no for the sake of being negative, the power of no for being very confident of what is it that you can and can't deliver.
I love it. That is gold. That is gold. The power of no. I love
Yeah.
it because it happens all the time, right? You've been in the consulting world, in and outside the channel, or inside vendor, outside vendor. So have I. Own my own channel partner business, been in vendor world and all of that. And the power of no depends on which side you sit on. I always find, because sometimes the power of no can be a step back that you just can't come back from, really. But here's the thing: if you're super clear about where you're heading and what you need to be successful, the power of no can actually speed up where you want to be, because you can stop spinning your wheels with saying yes to things where you just know, oh, are you really going to do this quarter? No, and it breaks trust, right? Like
Yes.
that breaks trust. I don't know how you feel about that, but there's the trust that gets broken down when you have this. Like it's almost like you've got this hot air balloon and you've turned up the gas and you're going up, 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 and then you're like, whoa, this is really good, and all of a sudden it starts to deflate, and you're like, what's going on here, man? I thought we were going up.
Absolutely. You just said it exactly how it happens in the field, right? If you overcommit, if you just say yes for the sake of trying to do the right thing for the partnership, because yes, and momentum creates motivation. However, you can be very motivated and unable to deliver. And what's worse for our customers? Don't shouldn't we just aim to deliver without? And again, I'm not saying let's be conservative. I'm saying let's be honest and realistic as to what is it that we can.
Realistic, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
love it. Love it. So you work across the APJ region, right? Countries like I think Japan, India, Korea, cultural
Yes.
differences, hyper local markets, different ways of doing business. You also work with hyperscalers as your key kind of unlock in your channel as well. Do you have some guidance for our audience who are dealing with hyperscalers that again you go through each one of these markets, they might get the same measurement, but their targets are completely different, their focus is completely different. They might be seeing a particular segment of the market that they're losing in Australia, that they need to that they're absolutely killing it, let's say in Singapore. So how do you, when you're working with hyperscalers, well, you've got this Okta strategy that you want to roll through, how do you deal with those nuances, and what should people think about when they are building these partnerships in these areas that are culturally different, language difference, business is done differently?
That is happening as we speak, and I've enjoyed having played multiple roles across my career in opening new markets in ABJ. So this conversation is very fresh. I can think of three things that are critical as a step before you choose to embark into a particular market. Number one is make sure that you've got a way to support a localized message. That is whether you've got the resources to translate your messages, your websites, your media. Whether you've got the resources to support in local language, that's important. And it might start with simply, hey, I've got someone here that can speak that particular language, or I'm going to leverage a local partner that can speak that language. That takes me to my second point, leveraging local partners. Align yourself to the hyperscalers, best partners on the ground. And so I usually go to a hyperscaler and said, who are your best partners in this particular country that have these superpowers? And you get a list. Hey, here are the partners. And then we go back to that framework. Let's put together our framework to see, is there mutual opportunity to win here? 9 out of 10, we find a partner. And finding one partner is critical as opposed to 10. Walk before you run. It's a new market, it's a new territory. You want to set yourself first. You want to help that partner be successful before you expand too aggressively. That's my take, Dre.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I love it. I think there's one of my previous guests, Bassam from Exco One, was talking about you find one, build your process, you get success, and then you go find the next one, and you start
Exactly.
to start to build from there. So this has been fun. It's a fun podcast. I like to do things a little differently. So we're going to step into what I call the partnerships fast five. So
Okay.
the fast five is I'm just going to give you, as a partnership professional, I'm going to give you we're going to go through five kind of statements. And I just want you to shout out what comes to your mind straight away.
Okay.
There's no wrong or right answer here. That's why it's called the Fast Five. And I don't need you to explain it at all. You can use one or two words, but no, definitely not full sentences. You ready? You
Okay.
ready to go?
Oh, well, I'm ready as I can be.
Okay, awesome. First one. Partnerships thrive on.
Support and success.
Partnerships embody
Marriages. Love, negotiation, and growth.
Love it. Through partnerships, you can
You can simplify broader business problems and help your customers that way.
love it. That's a lot of words. Eh?
Sorry
Number
about that.
4, partnerships spark.
Change and innovation.
Partnerships succeed through.
Trust.
Love it. There you go. Partnerships Fast 5. There's no pass or fail, but there's always some awesome answers. LG, thank you so much for being on the Investible Partnerships podcast, coming to share with our audience your journey from outside of partnerships into partnerships. I love what Okta is doing. Your latest partnership program changes to me are absolutely one of the best that I've seen in terms of where you're investing. So for everyone listening, how can they get a hold of you? How should they reach out to you to learn more about how you being a driver of partner impact?
LinkedIn is the best way. You can find me there, Luis LG Gamez, and I'll be open to answer any questions, to connect, to expand on the conversation. Thanks very much for having me, Des. This has been super fun.
Excellent. Thank you so much, LG. Catch you soon.
Des. Take care.
Thank you for listening to Investible Partnerships. Subscribe wherever you listen and visit investablepartnerships.com for the transcripts of today's show.